Yo, what's good? It's your boy Dot from Dot Me Now Coaching and Entertainment for coaching my links are down below. In today's video, I am going to talk about a little issue which I tend to see in the spiritual and the conscious communities. This issue is holding people back from evolving. And although I put regurgitating information inside the title, there's a couple of other things which I need to dive into, which does relate to regurgitating information. Now, with that being said, if you are hyped for this video, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and if you see the option to literally hype up this video, please do that because it really helps out your boy. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. All right, so first on the topic of regurgitating information, right? The reason why that's an issue isn't even because you're just saying what somebody else said, but there's two aspects as to why it's really an issue. Number one, there are people that have genuine wisdom, which is knowledge that's gained through experience, right? Because people have certain experiences, they gain certain information. But then there's other people who haven't really had much experiences, yet they're learning from somebody who did have an experience. And because they're learning about what that person is saying, they feel like they understand it in the same exact way that the other person who is sharing the information also understands it. But really, these two people understand it in different ways. One person understands it through direct experience. The other person understands it by simply just having their intellect process the information and store it inside their mind as if they know exactly what they're talking about. See, that wouldn't even be an issue. Sharing that information wouldn't even be an issue. But the second part is the fact that the person who begins to regurgitate the information, they usually don't tell you who they got it from. And this actually hurts the viewer because the viewer may think that, oh my God, this person who's sharing this information knows so much about this topic. Whole entire time, the person who's sharing the information only knows as much about the topic, which the person who had the real experience was willing to share. And this holds people back because think about it like this. Let's say that I learned how to do math from my teacher, right? And then I try to teach other people how to do math, but I have not been doing math for that long. I will not be the best teacher. The person I got it from would really be the best teacher because they've been doing it for longer and they have more experience. So it's not wrong of me to share something I've learned, but I'm doing a disservice to the people who watch me if I don't tell them how I truly learned this thing. Because if the person watching me wants to go deeper into the information, it would be best that they go to the teacher, not me. You see what I'm trying to say? So not only are people acting like they know something when they haven't even had the experience of it, on top of that, they're not even sharing where they got that knowledge from. Therefore, the person who's listening to them cannot even go to the direct source and learn more about it in depth. You see, this is part of the reason why I actually made a Patreon. There are several reasons why, but one of them is the fact that I'm aware of the fact that people love to just regurgitate information. And somebody like me, I actually gain direct experiences. When I don't, I try to share where I got the information from, especially if I remember. Like, for example, with the comedic wisdom, right? A lot of comedic wisdom that I have does come from my experience of actually practicing comedic spirituality. However, a lot of it also comes from the fact that I have read books about comedic spirituality, especially by the author, Dr. Muwada Ashby. And I'll bring up his name a lot when talking about some comedic shit because some of the info I got from him. Now, granted, you can actually get information from somebody and then get experience of what that person was talking about and then share it as your own. That is true. But it's still good to talk about where you actually got the information from to begin with. But because I'm aware that people don't do that, it's like, okay, You at least got to pay me before you try to fucking regurgitate my shit. Now, it's not just about that. Also, one reason why I made my Patreon is because people respect information when they pay for it. You see, people tend to respect things more when it has a higher perceived value. When I give things out for free, it doesn't seem as valuable as something which you paid money for. Therefore, you may not treat the information as very valuable. That's also another reason why. There's more reasons why I made a Patreon, but this video is not about that. I'm simply just saying that one reason I made it is because if someone's going to steal my information and not give me credit for it, at least you paid me for it. Shit. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, right, here's a good example. Somebody like me, I talk about the 12 planes of existence. I don't go super in depth on my YouTube, but I do go more in depth on my Patreon. I talk about the 12 planes of existence, the 5 harmonic universes. There's actually 6. One of them's hidden. I talked about that also. I talk about various different things on Patreon, which I have direct experience with. I have a series called Extraterrestrial Enlightenment. It has mad videos on there. And inside that playlist, I'm simply telling you guys different things I've learned from ETs through my experience with those ETs. You see? So like I'll leave my body and I'll get an experience of something which teaches me something and then I'll share it. But if somebody saw what I said and they understood it intellectually, that's a good thing, but they may have not had the same experience which I've had. Therefore, they cannot teach it as well as I did, which is why it's important to link your source, because somebody might try to ask you certain questions. But if you have not had the direct experience of it, you cannot answer it as clearly as the person who has had direct experience. So one thing about me, I don't care if people share my information. Just give me credit, because that's what I'll do. If I'm sharing somebody else's information, I'll give them credit and say, yeah, by the way, go to them. Although I know this thing, I learned it from them, go to them if you want to know more about it. I might be able to answer some questions to the best of my abilities, but this person has real experience with it. But here's the thing, because people are okay with just learning something and then regurgitating something, now they shut themselves off from gaining real experience because they think they already understand it. For example, with ETs, right? You can easily look up different traits of different ETs. And because of that, you may think that you actually understand these ETs, yet you have no experience with them. You never actually left your body and interacted with them. And this is a huge issue when it comes to people trying to offer readings for like your starseed heritage, yet they never actually interacted with those beings and the different ways that those beings express themselves. They just read a couple of traits on Google. They just saw a couple of videos, and now they think they actually understand this being. I'm about to show you why that's foolish. I could tell you guys about somebody that I know. My friend Jimmy, he's this kind of person, whatever the heck, right? Just because I told you about Jimmy, that does not mean that you actually know Jimmy. Until you have an experience interacting with Jimmy and you have several experiences interacting with Jimmy, you can't really say that you know Jimmy. It's the same with different starseed races. There's many people out here, right, who act like they understand these different ETs, but they never had any interactions with them. They may think they had something, like maybe they were in meditation and the ET came through, so they think. But how does that person know that they're not perceiving what they think is coming through based upon what they already know about that ET? This is the reason why a lot of people cannot share new ET races, because they never interacted with any new ETs. They just heard information online and they're simply just regurgitating that information. For example, I've talked about certain beings which no one's talked about. The Inataka, the Inakata, the Zazmari, the Alberians. I've made videos about some of these beings on my Patreon and on my YouTube. When you look up these beings, you can't find them online because other people haven't had experiences with them. And if they did, they're not talking about them. Another one, right? I haven't shared this yet, but Golden Arcturians, Golden Andromedans. I don't really see people talk about Golden Arcturians online. That's because they've never experienced it. But guess who did? Me. You see? So if I talk about it, I didn't just look it up. It's because I had an experience. Now, with what I share about that experience, you may think that you know what I'm talking about, but until you actually experience those beings, you don't truly understand those beings yet. And I'm not trying to come at nobody. What I'm trying to say is, right, regurgitating information isn't the only problem, but it's the fact that people are willing to learn something from somebody else and then think they fully understand it without having the experience which that person had. With the 12 planes of existence, I didn't learn that from looking that shit up online. No, when I tried to look it up online, everything I found seemed wrong. Now, I couldn't even fully know if it was wrong yet. It just didn't feel right. So I said, you know what, bro, fuck this. I could leave my body, bro. I need to go somewhere where different beings talk about this shit. And I did. I went to Arcturus. They talk about it. The Halls of Amenti, they'll talk about it. The Divine Universal Hall of Records, they talk about it. The School of Melchizedek, they talk about it. I went to different places that talk about the 12 planes, and I actually experienced all the different planes and some of the different beings which live within inside those planes. That's why I understand the planes. But somebody else might hear what I say and think they truly understand it without actually having the experience. And that's cool, right? That's why I make the videos, so that way, even if you don't have the experience, you can still know something about it. But you cannot act like you know everything about it until you experience those planes for yourself. Because as a person who has experienced the 12 planes, I won't even say that I fully understand every single aspect of every single plane. I could definitely describe that plane, what happens on that plane, different beings on that plane, how that plane goes into manifesting the greater creation, how that plane works with inside the omniverse and stuff like that. But I had to gain the experience in order to know that. And there's still probably a lot of experiences which I can have, which can help me to expand on these planes even more. Like for instance, with all the different subplanes, right? I haven't visited every single subplane of every single plane. Bro, there's like fucking trillions of subplanes, bro. This shit get deep. You know what I'm saying? So, nigga, I've not experienced all that shit. There's a lot of shit which I've not experienced, which I'm just not going to talk about because I don't have experience with that shit. I might try to learn about it and get an intellectual understanding, but until I truly experienced that shit and had the wisdom of that thing, I will not feel comfortable speaking about it unless I refer back to the source which I got my information from, that's what more people need to do. If you want to be a person who just wants to study all day and not have experience, that's cool. But when you share the information, cite your sources. I can tell a lot of these niggas did bad when it came to research papers because these niggas do not know how to cite their fucking sources. Facts, bro. This is a huge issue because not only do you not gain the wisdom for yourself, you're also making other people think that you know everything about this topic when you really don't. And if you were to just tell the people who you got it from, those people can now decide, okay, do I want to keep getting it from you, or do I want to go to the person who actually had the experience? And then even with that, there's a step further. Okay, I can go to the person that had the experience, but now I think it's time for me to get the experience for myself. And by the way, one reason why I say the spiritual community and the consciousness community, but I put quotes, is because these niggas don't be spiritual and they don't be that conscious. These niggas are not of their spirit. They're just of their mind because they're just looking at quote unquote spiritual information and putting it inside their mind as if they truly understand this thing by tapping in with their spirit. But they didn't tap in with their spirit. They just read a couple of books and they're saying what the fuck the book says. Same with conscious niggas. Like these conscious niggas don't even be that conscious. They're not really aware of the things that they fully speak of. They just read a couple of books and they're sharing it. They're saying that this information equals consciousness. Because I read this information, I'm conscious of this thing. And it's like, maybe intellectually you're conscious of it, and that's great. That's amazing. I love to study. I really do. I love that shit. But I also love to have experience. Because when you actually experience that thing, you're truly becoming conscious of that thing. You just read a book, that's only for your intellect. You don't truly have the wisdom of that thing until you experience it, bro. So that's a big gripe that I have, which is, like I said, one reason why I made a Patreon. Because it's like, if you want to copy certain information, you at least got to pay me first. And it's like, bro, I don't even care if niggas said it. You could say exactly what I say word for word. Just give a nigga credit. It's not just about me. It's not. It's about everybody, bro. If you learn something from somebody else and then you want to teach what that person said, if you want to teach something what you learned from somebody else, that's cool. Just give them the credit for it. Tell them, tell your viewers that you only know this thing because somebody else had the wisdom and then gave that to you. See, there's a reason why I don't really watch any spiritual content creators. Because most of them niggas aren't even spiritual. They're not even tapping in with their spirit. They're just fucking regurgitating information. One person I watch is Ryan Cropper because that nigga is sharing from his experience. And when he doesn't, he'll literally tell you where he got to practice from. He'll tell you where he got certain knowledge from. I would watch my boy King Cash, but it's like when he makes videos about going to new places, I'm putting new. I don't know why I put that in quotes. Oh, well, I'm doing that because it's not like a new place like it's never been discovered. But my point is, right, with Cash, right, he's already, like, most of the times when y'all seen the video, me and Cash already talked about this shit a grip ago. In fact, me and Cash might have went to the same exact place. So there's no real point of me watching Cash because I already know what he's going to say because he already told me about the experience or let me rephrase. He either already told me about the experience or we went to the same place anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I already know what he's going to say. But Cash, my boy King Cash, he does give wisdom from his experiences, right? He's not just fucking yapping his flaps about some shit that he fucking heard about. You feel me? I just don't really watch his vids because I know what he's gonna say because I either been to that place or he already told me about the experience to be good. That's actually my man's for real. You feel me? But Ryan Cropper, I don't just talk to Ryan Cropper on a daily and shit. So because of that, when he makes a video, I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna watch that. Why? Because I know that it's actually gonna be some wisdom inside there, which Ryan got from his own experience. And if he didn't get it from his own experience, he's going to give the source. And because he gives the source, if I want to learn more about it, I'm not going to think to ask Ryan Cropper. I'm going to think, oh, he mentioned this person. He mentioned this book. I'll go to that thing. I'll go to that author. I'll go to that person. And then on top of that, is it possible for me to have the experience for myself? If it is, I'll just have the experience for myself. You see? And when it comes to I want to say your spiritual rank. This is a whole different video because I fucking hate that term. But let's use that term, right? When it comes to your spiritual rank, it doesn't really come from how much knowledge you have. It comes from how much wisdom you have, how much experience you have. So if you take one thing from this video, is to get more experience and cite your sources. I'm in this video right here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like this video. Subscribe if you're new. All my links are down below. I love you. Catch my next video. Peace. Yo, freak out.